What's raging, gamers? Welcome to Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. How you doing, HenricK the Wreck?
You know me. I'm doing great as always. How about yourself, Chris?
Man, everything's good. This is our second show in prime time, and we can't thank you, the gamers, enough for joining us along the ride. We got so much brewing up for today's show, and it's going to be quite electrifying to start off, the first 10 minutes of the show, because we always like to talk about, all the things that are circulating all across the globe that's going viral. And in games like Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue, I was about to say Pokemon Go, not Pokemon Go. Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue, players are asked to select one of the three fictional creatures to accompany them as they start their monster catching journey. But Stephen A. Smith appeared puzzled by a fan's inquiry during his brand new podcast show on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, it's a whole lot of fun. But let's go ahead and take a look, because this clip is a gem, fam.
At Randy_Vision writes, which one are you taking? Okay. He's like, what the hell are these? What are these? Bulbasaur, whatever the hell it is. Charmander or the Squirtle. These are Pokemons, I guess that's what it is. I'm going to say, you know what I'm going to say? Charmander. That's who I would take, because it reminds me of me because of the forehead. That's what I'm going to go with, okay?
I was so waiting. Yeah, right? I was so waiting for him to say Pokemon. Oh, my gosh. It's like my father, raised his child under Pokemon and still calls it Pokemon to this day. It's like, really? And that's why, the reason why I'm even bringing that up, but let's go ahead and read the comments, because the first person wrote, Charmander is wild. Laughing my ass off. Second comment we got here is, did he just give Pokemon a black name? After all, he said it looked just like him, the forehead. He's the substitute teacher from Key and Peele. Ron. Catching you slipping. But the ESPN star host Stephen A. Smith has said also that he'd like to be in Grand Theft Auto 6 after one fan urged Rockstar Games to give him his own radio station, in which the legendary man himself, Stephen A. Smith, tweeted out, I do love me some Vice City at Rockstar Games. So, HenricK, I got to ask you, do you really believe that Stephen A. Smith actually knows Grand Theft Auto?
I mean, how do you not know Pokemon but know Grand Theft Auto? I'd say they're probably on the same level of notoriety in pop culture. Like, it's not really a question of whether or not if you know gaming, you know Pokemon, and you probably know GTA.
That's what I'm saying.
Not even him not making that.
Yeah, that's why I was just laughing. Like, it's like, okay, at least, he did say Pokemon. So, I mean, I guess he's got a little bit of leverage on some of the haters like myself. But I know I'm a diehard fan of Stephen A. Smith. I think he does excellent work. So thanks for catering to all us young lads and giving us a great laugh on the internet.
I got a question for you, Chris.
Okay.
What are you picking?
Well, what am I picking? That's a great option. I was big time. Probably Blastoise was an awesome for me, so I got to go with the Squirtle gang. Later on, when you do multiple renditions, obviously everybody wanted a Charizard. That's the cliche thing to do. But what about yourself? That's a good question.
Just choosing based off of their first forms and not their evolutions, I definitely would say Bulbasaur, because I just think that Bulbasaur is like a really good design. But I gotta go with the classic. If you're looking at the evolutions, you gotta go with the classic Charizard.
It's so true.
It's a fire dragon.
But like Bulbasaur, Bulbasaur's always like joked like the middle child. They're left out. They're neglected.
I'm a middle child,
I know. I bet my
so
mom's watching right now. She's
that.
like, "You neglected? When have I ever neglected you?" That's not what I mean. That is a meme culture thing. Okay, I'm sorry. But anyways, you heard the verdict, but we'd like to know from you gamers, what's your go-to option? And you can't say Pikachu. You can only pick within those three. But hey,
you know what? I did grow up with Pokemon Yellow, though, so if you pick Pikachu, that means you had Pokemon Yellow as well.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, I see. But we kind of set the tone as being Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue. But, let's kind of shift gears, because there has been a lot of mayhem that's been happening within the last week, and iShowSpeed is an unpredictable streamer who often finds himself in very funny situations, and this time playing EAFC 24. The YouTube star lost his mind during a recent broadcast after his dog accidentally quick sold Cristiano Ronaldo's Team of the Year card. Did the dog do it? You, the viewers, are going to have to judge for yourself.
You quick soda, nigga! Nigga, you quick! This nigga quick soda! Fucking nigga hit his paw! It hit his fucking... What was the app called? Oh my fucking god!
I can't help but laugh because iShowSpeed bought the card for 13.2 million coins, roughly worth $10,000, and even admitted to spending $30,000 on packs, resulting in him buying Ronaldo for millions of coins off the market. So let's go ahead and read the first comment, which reads here live on screen. 30,000 is a house payment, by the way. That rage made him the 30K back too. Okay, you know.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, quote unquote, accidentally.
Yeah, you know, because he does have that cliche of causing a ruckus on his streams.
Yeah.
It's crazy people would still pay this kid money for him to waste it on digital goods. Yet people in the real world are struggling to get by, let alone move up in life. Yeah, you know, it definitely does make you cringe, but wait until I show you the next video. Probably going to make that back in subs and endorsements in no time. Bro knew exactly what he was doing as it got our attention. Was that the end goal after all?
I mean, I think that's definitely a bit of the culture of making videos with overreactions to things. It's just, you know, a way to
I
get
kind of
attention.
feel like it's genuine. I mean, when
chasing.
you have to, like
But,
stop
I mean,
the
yeah,
stream,
it could
put
be.
a screen mirror up to look at your own stream, and then, by the way, I guess that's his dog's name. By the way, that vulgar language that he was using is his dog's name. Okay, that's iShowSpeed. You can clown him. We're not the ones saying it. I can't say it, but he's literally going ham, and you see the dog kind of hit the joystick on a level. You know, go back and rewatch the clip. Not now because we're live, baby. You can check it out after the show's over. But it's just totally insane how much money these streamers get and then how fast they're willing to spend it. And if you thought that was bad, wait until I tell you the next viral clip that's circulating all across social media. And that is rapper 21 Savage recently joined Kai Cenat's Twitch stream, and chaos ensued. Kai Cenat destroys his setup after losing $300,000 wager to 21 Savage in Madden 24. Let's go ahead and take a look.
But do you understand, like,
That's $250,000.
I'm not gonna lie, this is bigger for me than it is for you right now, bro. Give me my money. Just give me my money. I'm taking my money. All right, chat, here we go. Go time out, please.
No.
Just one.
It's over. It's over.
I'm done with this shit, oh God.
It's over.
I'm done with this shit, oh God. I'm done with this shit.
It's over.
Shit. Fucking dumbass fucking game, bro. Get out of here, bro. Done with all this shit, bro.
Damn, Kai. You brought everything, bro. What the
I'm finna pull up on you.
This nigga Kai broke everything, bro. Say dada. Say dada.
Bro. 300,000, bro. It's not funny, bro. I'm dead ass, bro. 300,000.
Talk
Yeah.
about a rage quit moment.
Yeah, literally. And we can thank, you know, the people like that for, you know, sadly giving us a good laugh. I mean, I think it's totally insane. You would think after a while, like Twitch and YouTube and all the other potential outlets, Rumble, for example, would start to crack down on people that kind of express this weird kind of anger management issues, on a level. But before we even kind of chime in even further, let's go ahead and read the first comment. Say dada. Say dada. Say dada.
Yeah, what was that about?
Hey, just trying to get under his head, man. I mean, the fact that you even relied on Madden, to be the game to gamble $300,000 is beyond me. But
True.
anyways,
True.
I don't give an F how much money I got. $300,000 for losing a game is insane. Now he got to pay $300,000 plus the damage of his own shit. He ain't tripping. He rich. Oh, so you think he ain't tripping? Well, we don't tend to do a follow-up video, but this is why I think more platforms should actually take a closer look at this kind of situation because of this reason. Does that
He's
kid look
done.
all right? No.
He's
right.
done.
He's out. I mean, the fact that he must have had like some celebrity thing where he had to show up to the event. I have no idea, but supposedly even that guy that's sitting right next to Kai is one of his buddies that's always on the stream, and even them are not really kind of vibing right now. Supposedly, he showed a diss track to 21 Savage, which Kai thought was a diss towards 21, and then come to find out that his own buddy that lives in the same household with him is dissing Kai Cenat. It's like, where are all his homies? It's not the first time he's destroyed his whole setup. So if people are going to continue to make this kind of like a fad, and then gosh knows if he goes bankrupt 5 years from now, is that when platforms actually start finally taking this seriously? I don't know.
I don't know. Even then, as long as they're making money as the platform, they probably don't really care.
They don't really care. It's so true. It is so freaking true. But hey, we want to thank you guys, the gamers, for joining us for Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. And we think this is an important time to let you guys know that if you're not following my YouTube channel, go ahead and scan the QR code or take a screenshot so you never miss any of the videos that I'll be dropping over on my channel. And also take a moment to check out that QR code of HenricK the Wreck, as you can see live on screen, where you're going to be able to follow HenricK the Wreck, his journey of all things gaming. It is so freaking awesome. But HenricK the Wreck, are you ready to rock and roll, my friend?
Oh yeah, you know it. It's time to rage.
It is time to rage, baby. Woo!
Hey everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is Palworld. Palworld is an indie game by Pocket Pair Incorporated that recently got a lot of attention. With all eyes on the game, controversy was, and still is, hot. This is because the game resembles certain other games that we already know. But setting controversy aside, is the game any good? Let's first go over the gameplay and find out. The gameplay of Palworld falls into the genre of survival, the likes of which Minecraft and several other titles have already pioneered to the mainstream. The game is clearly taking inspiration from many different games, Pokemon, Minecraft, The Legend of Zelda to name some. Where Palworld differs, however, is it combines survival mechanics with base building, while also giving you the option to capture pals that will either fight by your side or work at your base. The pals are really the standout feature of the game, as the name would suggest. They'll have different types such as ground, water, fire, and more, just like Pokemon. While the designs take inspiration from Pokemon, using them for building out your base is something that Pokemon hasn't done. Later in the game, your base becomes mostly automated with the pals you employ, leaving you free to go explore the world. Now the next question is there a story? Survival games have sometimes struggled with developing a story, and especially with this game being in early access, at least now, this is no exception. There is technically a story, though you mostly read it through scattered journal entries, but to put it simply, you landed on Palpago's island mysteriously, and now you have to go fight gym leaders and unravel more of the mystery of the World Tree. As the game's development continues, there is no doubt that the story will continue to develop as well, but as it is now, it is definitely not the main focal point. But now the question still stands. Pause or repeat?
What should we call this game? The American Pokemon? Pokemon with guns? And Nintendo's lawyers, don't come after us for that, okay?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We're not the first ones to say that, because I think a lot of people
but let me
clearly
stop you
see
though.
a
Like,
correlation.
let me stop you there though, Henrik, because you do see those comparisons of Power World being to Pokemon. Do you think that is a fair assessment?
I think there's definitely a fair assessment to be had there, considering, yes, a lot of the designs are really close to Pokemon designs, but I'd say that's, based on the fact that they're not the same, it's just inspired. It's just inspiration that they took from that game, just like they took inspiration from Breath of the Wild.
Oh, like
for their,
Pokemon was
other
inspired
things as
by
well.
Dragon's Quest?
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
okay, so
yeah.
at least everybody's on the same page.
Yeah. So, but I mean, Pokemon hasn't done that whole thing of, base building and guns involved in the game as well. So it's not exactly just Pokemon. It's all sorts of things put together in one game.
Right.
And I'd say actually it's a bit of a success for them, not only based on just the numbers, but based on how many people are talking about it outside of the gaming sphere even, because I'm, going to work, and what is everyone talking about? They're not talking about The Last of Us Remastered. They're talking about Power World.
Yeah, I mean, people are talking about Power World because it's, they're looking at the latest installment of Pokemon on the Nintendo Switch, and they're saying, this is the Pokemon game that we've always wanted. I mean, the fact that you can be rolling around with your pal, you can throw them out, and then you can literally retrieve them back in the open world. We don't even have that in any of the recent Pokemon games. But we do have another tree punching game, which is kind of getting a little bit old. It's kind of, reutilizing generic ideas like adding gunplay and Pokemon-like creatures. But don't let that deteriorate you from having a fun time. It's a lot of fun. You get to capture pals. You get to force them into labor work. And if they defy your orders, what better way than to cook him and eat your creatures? I mean, how creative is that? But I do gotta kind of tease HenricK, because HenricK was like, right away when Power World came out, he jumped on the early access and he went live on his stream. And you know what I noticed from your stream, HenricK?
What's that, huh? What are you going to say, huh?
No, you played it extremely safe. I was quite surprised.
Oh, okay.
You had numerous opportunities to kind of, a little bit on that pal, but you decided to, how do I put this? The analogy of you playing Power World is like stopping at every red light in GTA. Why didn't you use the capabilities to take out your pals?
Hey, you know what? I'm sorry that I don't want to butcher one of my pals that's actually doing a good job. Maybe I'm a good employer and I want to take care of my employees,
Oh, so you view them as employees. Oh, I thought they were your quote unquote pals, but okay.
I mean,
employees.
they are. But,
But I mean, there's a lot of really cool things. I think one of the best elements is the ability to ride your pals after you capture them, especially the flying.
Yeah, no, it completely opens up the game for you once you get some saddles to ride ground mounts and flying mounts, especially when you get your first flying. Man, like, you start to go exploring just because you can.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the environmental setting within Power World is really cool. You can see everything from bamboo forests to the murky swamps, and the fact that this is just an early access brings a lot of promise to this game. But you brought up something I don't think a lot of gamers are really kind of talking about, because, you do have this incredible knowledge in the tech space of all things gaming, PCs, and so much more. And really break that down, because I think it's really important for even potentially the developers to hear this and for them to address that wrong.
Well, I mean, my friends and I, we wanted to play the game together because it was advertised as a game you can play together, but we didn't want to play with random people on a public server. So we had this idea. Okay, let's make a dedicated server that we can just log in whenever, and that's it. And I do have a home server. I have some equipment for that, which already has some stuff set up on it, like a Minecraft server. I'm like, okay, let's try this. Lo and behold, I find out that the requirements for a dedicated server are minimum 16 gigabytes of RAM, but they recommend more than 32 gigabytes of RAM just to have stability on the server, which means that this game is taking up a lot of resources just to run a server on. So fast forward a couple hours after me trying to troubleshoot a couple things, I'm not able to put it together because it's not documented properly, and I'm getting some error codes, not because of a hardware requirement. This is just a software thing at this point. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think it's going to happen. We'll put this aside for later when it's more documented. So then one of my friends says, okay, you know what? We ball here. We're going to host it on my computer, and we're going to let it run. Yeah, so after a couple of hours, everyone lags. The second you fast travel, everyone lags for like a good 3 seconds.
And that's the thing. It's not just you and your friends. There's lots of reports of people expressing a bit of their frustration with the multiplayer aspect of it, which is that's kind of crucial because this is what's going to make Palworld succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure they'll fix it, at least to a degree, considering they probably didn't expect as much success as they got. So they weren't really expecting people to be using multiplayer in the same level of scale as they are now. Otherwise, they would have had, I'm sure, some dedicated servers already set up for people to run stuff on, you know?
Yeah.
Because some games already do that, where if, you know, you start a lobby of some shooter or something, you know, they'll make it so that your system is not doing the brunt of the work in terms of hosting everything. So I'm sure something will come down the line, but you know, it's in early access, so it still has a lot of work to go for it in terms of that. But as it stands right now, unless you're willing to play with other random people, which keep in mind, it's not a procedurally generated map, it's a set map. So you'll probably run into people and they might grief you. If you don't want to deal with that, playing solo is probably the way to go for now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a very excellent point that you've risen. But, you know, for an early access, you know, I'm going to say it's a repeat. A lot of people are going to be playing this all year long. And, you know, we'll see whether it can potentially shock the world towards the end of the year and even potentially even be considered even in the game of the year category. There's still a whole lot that's going to be coming in the year of the Mamba. That is the year 2024. So we will see. But, you know, if it did get nominated, that would be quite the milestone, especially considering that it is an early access game. So very, very cool. But we need to hear from you, HenricK the Wreck. How you vibing with this so far? Are you into your tree punching games?
You know, I do like myself some good Minecraft. That's why I have a Minecraft server set up. And I will have to say, this game is a repeat for me as well. My friends are still real hooked on it. I'm hopping on every now and then to play with them when I can. And I think that we're going to continue to play it for a while. You know, we might not keep the multiplayer server we have up for forever. But, you know, even in the solo play, I'll continue to hop in every now and then, especially if they continue development and they actually put out some good updates. I'm going to keep hopping on when they have those updates dropping to see what happened and what changed.
Well, you know, with the kind of revenue that they pulled in beyond their expectations, it's almost like another Baldur's Gate 3 story. Trust me, that studio Pocket Pair is going to have a lot of fun, develop a lot more things than they probably even in their wildest dreams were even imagining, and that is really cool. And so kudos to them, much success, and I'm looking forward to it. So you, the gamers, let us know what's good. Comment along throughout the show. We definitely want to hear your voices in and without. And so as you can clearly see, just like how that lower third pops up, you can literally join us as well, and we will showcase your text here live on screen. But we got so much more left here on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. So HenricK the Wreck, are you ready to rock and roll, my friend?
Oh, you know it. We got some juicy topics coming up, so stay tuned.
Yeah, let's stay tuned, fam. Woo! What's good, listeners? Welcome to Patch Notes, where my co-host HenricK the Wreck and I discuss gaming news, industry talk, and so much more. Let's get it. The second month of 2024 is upon us. February has become a popular time to release games, and this month may be the busiest in quite some time. Clearly, we don't have enough time to be talking about all the 20 great games, but we're going to be breaking down the 3 core games that we believe should be on your radar. And the first one that we're going to be discussing is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Takes place in a richly detailed open world metropolis. The story follows the Suicide Squad members Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, and King Shark, who must take on an impossible mission to save Earth and kill the world's greatest DC superheroes, the Justice League. Let's go ahead and take a closer look.
All of you are the worst of the worst of the worst.
So, what's the plan?
Time for us bad guys to save the world. Waller, the Penguin is in flight. Repeat, the Penguin is in flight.
Then let's clip his wings.
Oh my god! He's getting up!
Hitting him again.
He's ran out the door! Somebody stop him!
Did that get him?
No! It very much did not get him.
I do like a lot of the humor that I'm seeing from the story play, but a lot of the commentary that I'm seeing circulated online, and even I posted a YouTube short joking about the title of Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and it seemed to really ruffle some feathers because people are having a hard time that the Suicide Squad, ... kills the Justice League. Do you have an issue with that, Henrik? What's going on?
Not necessarily. I mean, I don't have as much of a tie emotionally to the characters as maybe some people do, though. So I could see, people who are real big fans of the Justice League characters. They're not happy. I've seen a lot of people not happy about how Batman is handled, for example. So
because he would set off in the sunset. He almost did like that Christopher Nolan, They would, bye, Felicia, and then all of a sudden they magically bring him back in, and we don't want to spoil nothing. We don't want to say nothing. So avoid X, avoid, TikTok. A lot of people are already showing all the massive leaks, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I know that there's some early access going on right now for people who have that access already, but we'll see what happens when the majority of people get access to it, because aside from the story, there's been a lot of controversy and the fact that it's a $70 game, but it has microtransactions and a battle pass still. Like, $70 wasn't enough.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a live service game, and that's what people are truly upset about. They want to have kind of like a solo break off. There is a solo element to the game. It's not like you just have to be constantly playing with somebody or a random person online.
But the solo play is still tied to an online service.
Absolutely, and that's an excellent point to bring up as well. But, you do get people that get so ruffled up, they get so upset over this game, and it's like, why not just give it a chance before you start thrashing the whole, kingdom down? That is something I don't truly quite understand. This has been on people's radars, it feels like, for almost 4 years now. And then now that we're about to finally embrace it, people are already shitting on it. And they're already saying that the story is going to get developed over time. Like, they did announce that there will be a free DLC of the Joker, a different version, not the Mark Hamill Joker. He's from, I know, he's already having, he's scratching his head, from the Elseworld. I know, but it's cool that they're even offering those kind of things.
That is not
he's from the Elseworld. There's a lot of things I've seen in the MCU. There's a lot of things I've seen in the MCU too that I'm going, that's not my guy, but we still roll with it. I mean, it's like, just give it a chance. But, I do find, it's kind of wild how quickly the slander is, even with like the high publications, even like IGN. I even saw some of the publishers, even for like Rocksteady, and they were even calling out some of the IGN, contributors that were reviewing their game going, see, they already had to discount the game to $20. That's not true. That was one eBay buyer. That was an eBay buyer, one person who decided to sell the game on eBay for $50. And so they run a story making it sound like the game's already downgraded. It's not going down anytime soon. And, we did clown CD Projekt Red for not being ready on launch. And I know they have until February 2nd to release it on the PC, PS5, and the Xbox Series XS. But within 1 hour, Henrik, 1 hour of the early access for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, it bugged out and already had to go into a scheduled maintenance because people completed the game. The credits started rolling. Like, how does that happen? But I'm still willing to give this game a chance. I'm really excited. I think those studios do an amazing job, and I was a big fan of the Batman story, so I'm looking forward to seeing how the story plays out. So if you're into Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, it releases on February 2nd on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series XS. So the next
stay
game,
tuned, because we'll probably do a pause or repeat on it. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But we got to definitely get our fingers moving or clicking on the keypad, you know what I mean, before we even further dive into Suicide Squad. But the next game, I like this because it's, I kind of feel like this is a sleeper. Would you say, Henrik? Sleeper on this next one?
Oh yeah, definitely. This one, I've had my eye on it for a while, and I think it's going to be real cool.
It's going to be really, really cool. And the game's called Pacific Drive. It is a run-based, first-person driving survival game. Your car is your only companion as you navigate a surreal and anomaly-filled reimagining of the Pacific Northwest. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Locations impacted in sectors Delta. Field Research Training Module 1.
You're like, what is going on? Is that the Ghostbuster vehicle?
No, yeah, I mean, it's a game. When I first saw it, the concept already got me hooked because I really like roguelikes, and indie games tend to have a lot of roguelikes. It's just like the go-to genre for a lot of developers because it's actually pretty fun if you do it right. And this is a refreshing take on it in a way because you have a car to deal with now.
Yeah, I was just about to say very similar to what you're saying right now, which it feels original. Like, that is so hard nowadays, it feels like. Like, a lot of these studio companies are so nervous about starting IP, and we constantly keep seeing remasters and re-releases and, sequels, and, no knock to it, because obviously gamers are still gravitating towards it. But to see this, I think it needs to be celebrated, and it needs to be on your radar. So Pacific Drive releases February 22nd on PC and PS5. Well, this game delayed, another delay, and, set sail on a voyage, and then it came back and sunk ship, and then it came back. You might have known this game. It's called Skull and Bones. Finally arrives this year, allowing gamers to choose their own pirate captain and grow into the fierce legend that you have always wanted to be. From the safe harbor of your hideout, recruit your crew, customize the ship of your dreams, and pick up on the latest rumors before you set sail to leave your mark on the world. Let's go ahead and take a look. Henrik, you remember when E3 was a thing? Yeah, I know. Long gone, like Warp Tour. Well, Skull and Bones has been announced since 2017. 2017.
Yeah,
just remind
when
people
E3 was still around.
Exactly. But
yeah,
I mean,
it is real unfortunate though that it has been in development hell for so long because I feel like there hasn't been a real good pirate game since probably Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Thank you.
I know there's been Sea of Thieves, but Sea of Thieves just wasn't my thing. I didn't get into it. It didn't draw me in, This looks like it could draw me in.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, especially since it's not all just naval warfare. You do have the elements to be able to explore the land, and I kind of like how they're kind of keeping it a tad vague on a level. Like, I feel like they want people to kind of do their thing for the first 2 weeks when it first drops and kind of explore the realms of this Skull and Bones universe. But it's very exciting. You know, someone who loves the Pirates of the Caribbean series and the Assassin's Creed Black Flag, as you referenced HenricK, you know, who doesn't want to be a pirate and live out their dreams on the sea? Something that I like to do virtually, not in real life. I don't know about you. I don't do well on boats. Oh gosh, man. You know, the best thing about a boat ride is when you're moving. When you stop, oh gosh.
The constant shaking.
Yeah, the constant rock. Oh my gosh. You know, we both went to Cal State LA. I don't know if you had to take a course. I had to do an oceanography course. Oh my Lanta. I was a part of the Skull and Bones at the bottom of the ocean. That's how I felt, at least. My stomach was sunken. But, you know, Skull and Bones, it could easily potentially be a game that could be on your radar if you so choose. So Skull and Bones releases on February 16th on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. So now we're going to go into some industry talk. We don't tend to normally do rumors, but it's really ruffled a lot of people. HenricK, break it down. What is going on?
We got a debate coming up here, but
yes, we do.
Rumors are swirling about Dragon's Dogma 2 launching without a 60 frames per second performance mode on PS5 and Xbox. Now, frame rate and performance are subjective to an extent, but there's no doubt that console players have come to expect a 60 FPS option in this day and age. After all, this is Capcom's first $70 title, reviving a series 12 years after the launch of the original title in 2012. And gamers were quick to post the news on Reddit with the following comments.
Man, so let's break it down. First one is, sounds like the game will be very faithful to the original. 2012, did you get it?
Yeah. Different times, different expectations for games.
That's so true. Why is all the preview material 60 then? Could be that it's PC footage. Then it got followed up by a convenient marketing decision. But if we're being honest, I think the commenter's question is, if a lot of people will be experiencing this on PlayStation and Xbox, isn't it misleading to only show bleeding edge footage for PC and not indicate that to the viewer?
That is exactly what Cyberpunk 2077 did with all their marketing material. Think about that.
A lot of people do it. I would even go so far as to ask, why should I even think that in the first place? After all the praise Capcom has gotten over the last few years, it's strange that here folk are instantly going for Doomsday. Yeah, they're clowning the game because it doesn't have the proper frame rate for you. Oh, okay. I didn't realize there was a statute of limitations on challenging and unethical practices. I guess we should all just accept it then. Cyberpunk launch PTSD intensifies. I know, for real, dude. And if games like Horizon can run at 60, I don't see why this can't. And yeah, I mean, HenricK, but why should I care? I mean, I rarely can tell the difference between, you know, playing a game on 30 frames per second or a game on 60 frames per second. And I already know, I bet there's people on the stream already that are like, you know what, Chris? Then show it. Show it live on air. I'm sorry. We're using a software called Restream.io. We're streaming at 30 frames per second. So who the hell are we kidding by putting a side-by-side comparison? So don't be fooled. You know, there's so many videos on TikTok or YouTube Shorts that are like 30 frames, 60 frames. And you're like, I don't see a difference. That's because it got exported 30 frames per second. So be careful.
You have to experience it in person. I feel like, and that's why I always tell people, like, if you want to experience it in person before, or like a difference in frame rate before you go and invest in some system to do that, go to a store that has a retail setting where they have monitors set up to gaming computers, because you can already see on a high refresh rate monitor the difference between that and even a 60 frames per second monitor. You can see the difference of just moving around your cursor and your windows. It's actually a pretty big difference.
But
I mean, that
like,
is a jump.
really, like
that
a
is
really
jump
big
between
difference.
60 and
I mean, like, no, wait,
144,
okay, like
but-
the one number one celebrated game, it feels like always on like Reddit and Discord, you name it, Bloodborne. Okay, that runs on 30 frames per second. Why doesn't nobody ever experience an issue playing that game?
Oh, right.
No one
But
has
you
any-
want to know
no-
what one of the biggest reasons why people want to have it remastered? Because they want to have it in 60 frames per second, Chris.
But okay, since you're saying that, it's like, do you believe Capcom will still deliver, you know, an exceptional and outstanding RPG game no matter the frame rate capabilities?
I mean, yeah, if the game is good, the frame rate is just another added detail. But if you're worried about the game not being good, especially when they haven't done this series in a long time, so they could mess it up. They easily could.
We better just
the
not.
Frame rate is another thing where it's like, okay, now you're not giving us the option of 60 frames per second when we're kind of expecting that out of games nowadays. That kind of sucks.
But I know,
It's
and
just
then you
another
see a
thing.
lot. But you see a lot of, like, you know, the comments even within, you know, more of the Reddit thread, and you know, people are kind of going, yeah, exactly like you said. You know, this is something that we need to, you know, celebrate, and you know, we need it. You know, the PS5's already been out for like 3 years. Why isn't this a mandatory requirement for studios? And again, you know, this is a sequel working from a game that, you know, the first one installment came out in 2012. So that's why sometimes I have a really hard time. But then, you know, every time we have this conversation about 30 FPS and 60 FPS, I start to think that we're starting to give these developers great ideas when it comes to the deluxe and premium. I'm starting to think about last week's show
no.
when we had about the new game plus. You see where I'm going with this? You see where I'm going with this? It's gonna be watch. I watch. I know. I'm speaking into existence. I'm not saying it's right, but watch it gonna become like a deluxe and a premium edition where you're gonna go Dragon's Dogma 2 for the deluxe edition. You can play it on performance mode, and that's going to be very concerning, especially considering, you know, like Star Wars Survivor, you know, they give you the option between 30 and the 60. But I mean, does that seem too far-fetched? I mean, I won't be surprised when someone tests the water.
It honestly just sounds dystopian to bring up that as even a concept.
Dystopian? You think that's dystopian?
Come on.
Everybody's
I mean,
always
that's
trying to
such
look
a
for the
bad
dollar
idea.
bill. I mean, you're the one that told me that you have you have to play it on 60 frames.
Well, it depends on the game. Some games you might not be able to tell as much of a difference, but I play a lot of games that have a lot of fast-paced action. I'm not about to go play a game like Call of Duty at 30 frames per second in the year of 2024 and have a good time.
No.
Not when I'm facing off against people who have 144 hertz monitors or 200 or even 360 hertz monitors some people have. That is just already such an advantage for them because the gameplay is just so much smoother if their system can handle it, obviously.
Are you going to be
It's
upset
just so much
that,
smoother.
Are you going to be upset if Mario versus Donkey Kong isn't in 60 frames per second? Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me? Does it only?
That has been a big complaint about Switch games is that they don't come out always in 60 frames per second.
But I mean, then again, you know, there are people that are bringing up excellent points too. It's like, you know, the recent Zelda game, they were able to do it in 60 frames per second. You know, you also have, you know, a lot of other like, you know, the most recent, you know, why am I already blanking out the person on the comment? The Horizon Forbidden West was even able to run it at 60 frames. So they're going, why is it locked? I might be making an excuse for them, but maybe it's because the game has been in development for a very long time and they weren't in that workload mode, you know, for going towards.
I think that it's a couple things. It's one thing being, you know, the developers have to go in and optimize the game for the hardware to support 60 frames per second, but then also the hardware has to actually be capable enough of doing that in the first place, which they did say for this generation of consoles that they were really targeting 60 frames per second. So I'm sure
that's a
you
good
could find
point.
a clip.
You know,
you're
right.
Is that? They're not going to mention that ever again, I think, in this generation.
Yeah, I know, to celebrate certain consoles that like reach that milestone and then to continue to see more and more studios neglect it. Very, very odd. It's not like it's, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, where they're dealing with like Unreal Engine 5 and a live service. Like sometimes a part of me makes it feel like they can't do all this at once because they think the technology can sustain it, and then they're finding out the hard way that we're not quite there yet, but we're almost there. But you would think that more people would flip the hell out over, Dragon's Dogma going for a very old school approach when it comes to this open world game. Like, one of the news that's a bit disappointing is that they're only going to do a single save slot for this game, which I don't know about you, like growing up playing like Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 and New Vegas, I always had like multiple saves because you sometimes go under, a subway tunnel and all of a sudden you die and then you lose all your material. You're like, I better have a backup save.
Yeah, and you reload.
And then you exactly. So you correct your wrongs, right? That's a little bit disheartening. But also, gamers, how do you feel about the director of Capcom's upcoming fantasy RPG choosing to forego a traditional open world fast travel system for the sequel? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we got a quote here on screen that says, "Just give it a try. Travel is boring? ? That's not true. It's only an issue because your game is boring. All you have to do is make travel fun. We put a lot of work into designing a game where you could stumble across someone and something will happen." So yeah, there's no fast travel.
That is a good point, because I do think that putting fast travel in all these open world games, while it is a nice convenience, because in a game like Skyrim, you might not want to walk all the way from Riven all the way back to the starting area, because that's a long mission to make it all the way across the map, basically. But at the same time, like a game like Skyrim, they maybe put that in because not only is it convenient, but there's also a lot of nothing. Once you explore it once, there's not really going to be much else to explore.
Okay, well, what about Spider-Man 2? Everybody was celebrating their new fast travel that's never really been introduced in a game. Within like 3 seconds, you could load anywhere on the map. Like, people were celebrating that.
But at the same time, they put that in because now it's expected to be put fast travel in an open world game.
That's kind of what I'm curious whether that's going to be a dilemma with gamers. Maybe not. Maybe people might love it.
But I'm just saying the developer has a good point that if you make the game world interesting and exciting to be traveling in, then you don't necessarily need to have fast travel, because you're at that point taking away from the game itself, because the whole point is to travel from point to point and encounter things, and that is part of the gameplay right there.
Yeah, that's so true, man. And, Dragon's Dogma 2, it's going to be released in about a couple months from now. Again, it is, Capcom's first $70 title, and that's why, people expect, when you spend your hard-earned dinero, that you get all the bells and whistles. So what do you think, gamers? We want to hear from you guys. Are you a 30 frames per second kind of guy, or are you a 60 frames per second? And is that the expectation? I know HenricK's already clowning me. He doesn't like what I had to say. I was just trying to play devil's advocate. I've never had an issue, but do I have issues? I don't know. Let me know. Comment throughout the show. But hey, let's go ahead and break down the next topic of conversation, because Epic Games has announced that it will be bringing Fortnite back to the iOS devices later this year, thanks in part to a change in EU law. In a tweet that was posted on the official Epic Games newsroom account on X, the publisher wrote the following. So here we are. This is the tweet. Fortnite will return to iOS in Europe, and it's important to reference not the United States as of yet. This is Europe in 2024, distributed by the upcoming Epic Games Store for iOS. Stay tuned for details as we figure out the regulatory timeline. We'll continue to argue to the courts and regulators that Apple is breaking the law. But however, while the law states that Apple has now allowed developers to create and offer new apps, including new stores, without using the App Store, Apple has changed its terms further to ensure it still earns money on non-App Store apps. That's the drama. Why is that a drama? Apple has demanded that apps downloaded more than 1 million times a year must pay 50 cents for every download over 1 million, meaning developers will owe Apple $542,000 for every million downloads after the first million. That includes free apps and paid apps. So think about it like that. What if you have no advertising dollars towards the game? You randomly have a fee from Apple? Well, that ain't flying very well with a lot of developers. And so unless this situation changes, it appears that even if Epic was to release Fortnite on the iOS devices through its own Epic Game Store, its popularity means it may still have to pay Apple millions of dollars under their new terms, which the founder and the CEO of Epic Games, Tim Sweeney, oh man, he wasn't having it. And I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that tweet. He wrote, Apple's plan to thwart Europe's new Digital Markets Act law is a devious new instance of malice compliance. They are forcing developers to choose between the App Store exclusivity and the store terms, which will be illegal under the DMA, or accept a new, also illegal, anti-competitive scheme with new junk fees on downloads and new Apple taxes on payments they don't process. So now that we've heard from the CEO, we're going to show you guys what the gamers and industry leaders are tweeting about the following.
I mean, did they learn nothing from the Unity drama a couple months ago? Like,
You
come
know,
on.
there's a lot, right? And so one person wrote here, remember this? It's nowhere to be found today on apple.com. A store that welcomes competition. As you can see here, it's going, see, look, we have our own podcast, but we support other podcasts. Look, you like TV? Yeah, we have Apple TV, but you can get Netflix and YouTube and all that kind of fun stuff. Oh, you like music? Well, you don't have to go through us. You can go through Spotify. And so, yeah, that's pretty hilarious that they removed that. So then the next person, Sarah Bond, she is the new leader over at Xbox. And, you know, she believed constructive criticisms, or sorry, excuse me, let me start that over again. We believe constructive conversations drive change and progress towards open platforms and greater competition. Apple's new policy is a step in the wrong direction. We hope they listen to feedback on their proposed plan and work towards a more exclusive future for all. And that was responding to Daniel Ike, which also is kind of hilarious to begin with too, because, you know, he's talking about taxes on apps and downloads. Well, you know, you've been kind of taxing the artist, but this is a gaming show, so we'll stick to gaming. How long can a company that depends on developers survive at the top of the hill while being at war with those same developers? We're about to find out. And this guy wrote back in 2021, my spiciest take, Apple will not be a top 10 company by market cap by the end of this decade. That is quite spicy.
That is, yeah, considering how many ventures into cash flow that they have.
Big time, Henrik. And under the app's new fee structure for Europe, if you make 10 million in sales, Apple's cut is 6.2 million annually. Assuming you have no operating costs or salaries, you take home amount $2 million after tax, or 20% of your sales. I will never launch an app in Europe. And last, still boggles my mind that you're allowed to put a credit card number into the Popeyes app and not the Fortnite app on iOS. Oh, excuse me, I have one more left, and that is, it's 2025. Your app went viral in Bulgaria, generating 4 million downloads. Your tip jar wasn't working, so you didn't generate any revenue. You are now indentured to Tim, Apple, until you pay off your 1.5 million year debt. So make this make sense, people. So clearly, Henrik, you know, people are upset, but I'm a major fan of Apple. I use their products. I like it, but you start to get a little frustrated with a lot of these larger tech companies starting to get on my nerves. You know, they feel like the rules don't apply to them. How can we make this work
Apple,
out?
it's all of them. All of them have done something at one point that's just like, what are you doing? I don't understand you right now, because you're just like trying to shoo people away from your products because of this bad practice in the market. Like, and this itself, I mean, yeah, there's people against it, but the majority of people are not going to know what's going on. And, you know, all they're going to care about is their phone working, and are they able to download Fortnite? And if they're able to download Fortnite, that's all they care about. They're not going to care about the back end of like, oh, I'm going to make them, you know, owe this much money at the end of the year. No, they don't care.
And yeah, and you know, and myself and HenricK the Wreck, we're not going to pretend live on air that we have the answers, but I will give you my theory on where I believe why Apple has been trying to take this kind of stance. Because think about this new report that's been dropped by mobilegamer.biz. They found out that the new GTA trilogy has reached 18 million downloads on Netflix games. Okay, so with that being considered, and just the San Andreas game, they've said accumulated 11.6 million downloads all on its own. Okay, so if we're starting to implement more video games coming to the devices, go into your smart TVs. Well, who wants to control the cloud? All things cloud? Apple wants to be the leader in that. They do not want to see. I've been saying it for like 6 months. Henrik's been saying it for 6 months. They are trying to be the regulators of all things gaming. They understand video games generates more revenue than movies, television, film, theater, music combined. It's crazy. And so when you start to think about that, they're starting to, create these rules designed to get the likes of Epic or Microsoft Xbox from gaining traction. What do you say about
that?
that?
But like, if they do get traction, they want a piece of the pie, because at the end of the day, they feel like, oh, okay, you're going to put Fortnite on our devices. Now, because you're using our devices, we need some sort of compensation for that, because you're putting it on a device that we made.
Yeah, and a lot of these developer apps already pay an annual fee to Apple. So this is another tax on top. That's why people are extremely, extremely frustrated. And if you think it's only Epic and Microsoft that has plans for all things cloud gaming, look no further than a quote that I'm about to show you guys right now. This is the Sony CEO speaking on the future of gaming. And he wrote, "It will be ambiguous. Wherever there is computing, users will be able to play their favorite games seamlessly. Why PlayStation will remain our core product is we will expand our gaming experiences to PC, mobile, and cloud." So come on now. I mean, don't be surprised that, Apple's going to continue to put more pressure, and we'll see whether European law will help cater towards Congress to kind of help do the same thing, because, yes, it sounds a little bit right now like we're slamming Apple, but it's not just Apple. I mean, you can look at the Androids in the Google store. They are also doing the same thing. And cloud gaming is going to have a very hard time being successful if they do not figure this out pretty soon.
No, definitely. I think, like I said, it's not just Apple. It is all big tech companies in the space that have done something at some point and are maybe still doing it. It's just Apple is such a big player. You would think that they would, kind of be the forefront of allowing things like this, but instead they're the forefront of wanting to charge a nickel and dime all their developers, clearly, because that's what this is exactly. It's them nickel and diming them because they're trying to, as one of those people said, do some malicious compliance, saying, okay, well, we have to comply to the law now, but if we're going to comply to the law, we're going to comply under my terms. They want to be in control.
But that's why people feel like in the European Union, this will be the best thing even for Americans, because, you think about the USB-C charger debacle. Remember how they were saying, you need to make a universal cable, stop coming out with a new cable every 3 to 5 years. And that eventually didn't even let Congress do the job that they really should have been doing for the American people. So that's why people feel like when they look at what Europe's doing, potentially that will cross the pond and bring us Fortnite back to our phones. Oh, it used to be such a beautiful time. I want to see that happen. And yeah, so I mean, unless you have any other kind of final thought, HenricK, I say we move on to the next topic of a conversation.
Yeah, we can move on to the next one, which is in regards to Xbox. So, and really just the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
So Xbox, they've now joined the long, depressing list of tech industry layoffs in 2024, which it feels like it's every week almost.
Man,
we have a new one coming out. But Microsoft will lay off 1,900 people across its video game divisions, including at Activision Blizzard, which it purchased for $69 billion in an acquisition that closed late last year. And this is after the news of the Microsoft gaming layoffs. They hit social media, the landscape of social media.
Yeah.
And there's been no shortage of criticism, as you could imagine, directed at Xbox head Phil Spencer, because he's the face of Xbox. And so check out some heated tweets we pulled up. They are pretty heated.
I know, right? Like this cat right here, he says, "You did a great job. Now get out of here. You're fired." Phil Spencer. And we don't have enough time to read the email, but you get the point. A lot of the emails have been circulating with Phil Spencer and what he wrote to his staff about the layoffs. Second comment we got here is, companies do heinous shit like this, and then in 2 months, people will gobble up their newest content and praise Phil Spencer like he's their best friend. In October, Phil Spencer said the acquisition of Activision Blizzard would build a, quote, culture that strives to empower everyone to do their best work, end quote. 4 months later, Xbox and Phil Spencer are laying off 1,900 employees at Xbox, primarily at Activision Blizzard. Heartless to fire people right after big Xbox game showcase. The people that made the games you saw are being fired. Phil Spencer, Aaron, Sarah, and the rest of the clown gang will get away with it. Keep buying, keep firing. Only thing they really want is to sit on the IPs. Microsoft on their way to lay off 1,900 talented workers. It's all good, man. It's all good. And another filthy rich company pinching pennies. And so, yeah, I mean, it's pretty wild, Henrik. You know, from the outside looking in, you know, one would think that Microsoft has the money to spend on employee salaries, but clearly that's not the case because it's not just them. Remember, you know, PlayStation had their fair share last year, and, you know, we're seeing reports that even Riot Games, Twitch, Discord, Unity, you name it, they're laying it off. It's wild.
Yeah, it's
Why
not
is this
just
happening?
Microsoft. It's like a whole industry thing, and we're probably going to see more of them in the coming months, even lay off more of their employees. And you know, granted, this does happen in the tech industry and the gaming industry every year. There's a kind of a wave of some layoffs because they hire people for the holiday season or whatever it is that they decide to do. They overhire a little bit and then they have to pull back a little bit after the fact. But we were kind of, you know, trying to figure out what's going on. Like, what is the reason why this is happening now, and more so than previous years, it feels like. And we don't have an exact answer because we're not working for these companies, obviously, at the high end. So we don't have the statistics and the charts and everything to look at the numbers. But
We
when
can
you really
speculate.
think about it, we can speculate. And when you really think about it, like, when you look at the music industry, there's places in the world that are seen as like the mecca of music and music and music, you know.
Nashville, Tennessee. You're right.
Nashville, Tennessee, for example. That is a great example.
Think about the cinematic universe. Where's that located?
Hollywood.
Entertainment capital of Hollywood, right? There is none of that, right? In gaming.
Yeah,
Where
there's none of that in the gaming industry. It's all spread out. Like, you got people working in Japan, you got people working in the States, you got people working in Europe, and
or Toronto,
all over those countries at that.
Yeah, right. Barcelona.
So, it's like, is this because they want people to go back into the office now that the pandemic has kind of subsided and it's okay to work with each other? Or and is that then because, like, are these layoffs because people don't want to go back into the office and they're, you know, maybe they work for Blizzard, for example, and their headquarters are in Irvine. They don't want to move to Irvine because that's a big move potentially for them. Or,
well, you know, it's expensive to live here in California if you're not used to that ride, you know. And I think a lot of these studio companies for the longest time were relying on remote work. And because largely due to the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, now that the pandemic's over and people are starting to settle into what we know as life, you know, they want to go back to these expectations. And so they start, you know, firing off their crew. And so, you know, you see, you know, Microsoft, you know, $69 billion acquisition into Activision Blizzard. And you see that and you get very, very puzzled, especially considering, by the way, it also dropped this month that Microsoft became the second tech company to hit $3 billion in market value after Apple. So you start to see those kind of things and you kind of wonder what the hell is going on. But there's also been further reports, even on Xbox end, that a good majority of the people that got laid off were the people that worked in physical distribution, which really strongly gives an indication that they are pushing for everything to be potentially digital, which is what we keep saying: cloud gaming, cloud gaming, cloud gaming. And so this is happening way more than normal. And it's not just them like HenricK broke down. Riot Games, for example, they are the makers of League of Legends. They have laid off 11% of its workforce. Twitch, for example, they had cut 35% of its staff. They are owned by Amazon. Amazon has plenty of money. You are probably watching this on your Fire Stick as you speak. or your next order shipping to your house is probably most likely coming through Amazon. Discord, we're all gamers, right? We love them. Well, 18% of them got laid off, along with Unity. They cut a quarter of its staff. That's over 1,800 jobs gone in the wind. So it's very disheartening, and that's why, and this will be the final thing I will say about this kind of topic about layoffs. There's a reason why developers are, I'll speak towards Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, for example. There's a reason why the developers are clapping back at major publications like IGN and etc. Nobody's really given them an opportunity to even have their game even showcased for even a week, 2 weeks, a month. And so you are effing with people's lives. And if you go on Twitter and you look at a lot of the artists with Rocksteady, you'll see it right now. Go out after the show, gamers. You will see endless threads of young cats that are your age, like us, that are finally getting the opportunity, their very first credit in a major video game from Warner Brothers, by the way, which is revitalizing that whole entire universe with James Gunn. This is a big, big moment in their career moving forward, and they're seeing what's going on behind the scenes. So think about what you're doing when you're shitting on them, when you see all these layoffs happening. If you keep doing this without actually playing the game, you're going to start to get a lot more live service games and more free-to-play games like Fortnite, and not a lot of original IP. So that would be my final thing I'd say.
That is a good point, the original IP thing. And I believe you brought it up earlier in the show as well when we were talking about the games that are coming up in February, that Pacific Drive felt, like a fresh concept, because you don't get that often anymore. Because a lot of developers are looking at the numbers and saying, we could try, but it's either we try that and gamble maybe or maybe not making a profit out of it, or maybe not as much of a profit as we want. Or we could go back to an IP that people already know and ruin it, but we'd still make money.
Yeah, exactly. And so, if you want to kind of, cherish, original IP, before you start slandering it, play it. That's all. You know, there are real humans behind the scenes, and trust me, they put all their full efforts to try to bring you something awesome and electrifying towards your console or your PC or even your handheld device. But man, we've had an amazing show today here on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show, and we can't thank you, the gamers, for joining us every Wednesday, prime time at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And since you're here at the end of the show, just want to take a moment. Scan the QR code, follow me on YouTube. I got so many things cooking up, a lot of goofy content, and so much more. Join the ride. I'd love to see you there. Also, HenricK the Wreck has got a lot of beautiful content, so like, share, and subscribe. You know the drill. And I know you've been kind of doing something a little bit after the show. Are you doing anything today, or are you just kind of keeping it easy?
At 8 o'clock, I'm going to be going live, and I'm going to... I have to pick what game, but I think I'm going to play Apex Legends because I'm kind of lacking on the Battle Pass. So I have to kind of catch up on that.
Don't you only have a couple weeks left? So. I was going to say, don't you only have a couple weeks left?
I'm at like level 64 or something out of 110.
You got a lot of work to put in. Yeah, you got to put some work in.
But they do have EXP boost going on right now, so I got to take advantage of that.
That's true. That's true. Hey, so go ahead and
come join. We'll have some fun. We'll chat about some games. If you have any thoughts about my gameplay, you can even roast me.
Yeah, please do. I got to see the roast.
Just tell me
if someone roasts him,
all.
Get a screenshot and send it my way on my personal accounts. We will use that as fuel to the fire and maybe light something under HenricK's chair. We'll see what happens. But thank you guys. We can't thank you guys so much for joining along for the ride. So make sure you hit the notification bell so you never miss a live show. And we'll see you next week, fam. Peace.